Today I'm here with Daniel Massengale with On the Fly Excursions, and he's going to give me a little tutorial, a basic starting point to throw streamers. Okay, Daniel, so tell me a little bit about streamers. I've got guys telling me I've got to learn the streamer game if I'm going to be a serious trout guy. What's all to it?
So you're imitating a bait fish pattern, pretty much, crawfish pattern, leech pattern. I mean, a bunch of different styles. Just depends on what you want to get into.
So I've been told it's a lot like the bass game with jerk baits and your crank baits.
Very similar.
Those kind of things. So
Yep.
Let's start off simple. Show me a simple streamer and how I'm supposed to throw it.
As simple as it gets is woolly booger. You can go leech pattern, crawfish pattern, or small bait fish pattern with it. That's your base level streamer. And then from there, you get up into the articulated streamers.
What is an articulated streamer?
It is a two-piece fly.
Okay.
So it has a little more motion. It's almost like a jointed crankbait, jerkbait style. It has just more motion, and you have a hook, as I call it, the trailer hook.
So we got two hooks.
Two hooks. Now, not all articulated flies have two hooks. Depending on where you're fishing, like a delayed harvest,
Right.
you can only fish one hook.
That's right.
So you would have a style streamer that only has a lead hook or a rear hook.
Being new to streamer fishing,
Yep.
we're going to start off with that basic woolly booger.
Yep.
What am I throwing it on, and what am I throwing it at?
So as far as setting up for, say, throwing the woolly booger, basic fly rod weight for the southeast, I'd say a 5 weight.
Okay.
You can either throw it on sinking line or floating line.
What's best?
I mean, depends on the situation.
Okay,
If you're fishing the tailwater, I would say floating line.
Okay.
If you're fishing it off a boat, sinking line. It's just going to depend on the situation you're in. The deeper the water, the heavier the line needs to be.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. What, tippet? I keep hearing, I'm learning about tippet as we're going along. So what am I throwing a woolly booger on?
Now, if you're fishing for stock trout, like say your basic state stock trout, 10 to 16 inches, I would go 5X.
Okay.
Which is anywhere between 4.5 to 6 pounds, depending on the manufacturer.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going a bigger woolly booger, I throw it on 12-pound fluorocarbon.
Okay. And how am I bringing this in? I assume we're stripping.
There's multiple ways. So
Okay.
you can just sling it across current, swing it, and then strip back on the way in, or you can strip it the whole way.
What do you prefer?
It depends on the situation.
Okay. So give me a situation where I'm just swinging it.
So say you're standing on the bank, you throw it straight across,
Mm-hmm.
let it swing into the current, and then you're bringing it back into the current. You're imitating a bait fish at that point, or a crawfish. Now, stripping it back, you're imitating a bait fish the whole way.
Just pure bait fish on it.
Yep.
So that's the difference in the two.
Yep.
All right. And as far, let's say I'm wanting to do a crawdad. I'm letting it sink to the bottom,
Yep. And do a bump and go on the way back.
almost like I'd be working a bass jig or something.
Yep. Or a Texas rig.
Texas rig.
Yep.
Okay.
Just
Very
bump
similar.
and go. And now, how to fish any streamer pattern is you got to find the rhythm that fish wants. You start it out fast, go medium, go slow, longer pulls, shorter pulls, faster pulls. You just got to find the rhythm that fish wants, similar to fishing a jerk bait for bass.
Okay. All right. And as far as the hook set with the streamer, different than I'm assuming like with the nymph or anything else?
I would most definitely strip set it.
Strip set it.
Yep.
So no rod raise or anything.
Nope.
Just strip set.
Just pop him, go to the side with it. Now, you're not full out strip setting like you would with a redfish or a tarpon.
Right.
It's just a intermediate half pull. Just lock him in and then automatically bring your rod to a 45.
Okay. Will this work year round, or are there better times of the year?
I would say year round, but there are primes. Now, it's going to be dependent on where, again.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're fishing a small mountain creek, I would go pre-spawn, post-spawn with it. On the river, like say tailwater or DH, all year.
All year. Okay. So that's the woolly booger. That's the basic starting point.
Yep.
Now we've got all this larger, prettier streamers you've got going on. When would I upgrade, and why would I upgrade to one of these bigger ones?
Now, I would say the upgrade part of it is if you're dead set on a big fish,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to catch a lot of big fish, but you're going to catch big fish. Same thing with muskie fishing.
Okay.
Fish of 1,000 casts. You may throw this streamer for 8 hours straight, never get a follow, but you're still streamer fishing.
Right.
Like, it's the thrill of the chase with the bigger streamers.
Now, do we target different areas with the bigger ones?
I mean, you can fish it the same places that you're fishing nymphs.
Okay, So you gave me 2 casts
Yep.
with the woolly booger. Are we doing the
Yep.
same thing with the larger ones?
Yep. Same thing. You can swing them or you can fish them jerkbait style.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about these patterns you got right here.
So most of these are variants of other people's designs that I come up with. So I fish a lot of private water streams.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of creek chubs in there, a lot of baby trout in there, and a lot of forage of the minnow style classification, I guess you would say. So I try to mimic those. And as far as color goes with them, it's, I mean, you got to mix it with the watercolor, same as bass fishing.
Okay. So say we got a really clear stream. Which one of those are you going to be throwing?
I'm going after the olive, the black and the purple, and the dirtier the water, of course, the brighter the color.
Okay. Now, is this exclusively for trout?
No, you can throw any of this for bass. I mean, anything. I mean, peacock bass will eat them.
Yeah.
I mean, all your trout species will eat them.
Okay.
I mean, there's no limit.
What makes you pick up a streamer when you're fishing?
It's the thrill of that chase.
So you're just going out for one big fish alone, or maybe a couple,
Yep,
trying to get that increased size on the bite.
yep,
So in North Georgia, we stock a lot of streams.
yep.
I assume the woolly booger is the one that I should go for with stockers, or are there others?
I would say that would be my good starting point for it. Uh, everything eats a woolly booger.
And what else could I possibly use for those fish?
I would say go with a small dungeon style fly. It's a deer hair pattern. Kelly Gallup designed it.
Uh huh.
I mean, it's universal. Bass eat it, everything. I mean,
Okay.
you may be on the tailwater throwing this thing right here, and a smallmouth come out of nowhere and
Oh, really?
snatch it. Yeah.
Okay. So a little bit of opportunity for everything.
Yep.
So when you get a new client out on the water,
hmm
they say, I want a streamer fish. How would you kind of figure out if that's for them? And then how would you go about teaching them how to throw a streamer?
Well, we start small, like we started with the woolly bugger. You got to get them used to the cast, used
Mhm.
to the weight of it, because these weigh 10 times what a regular nymph weighs.
Right.
So you can't, everybody wants to go with the biggest streamer that they can get first, just because it's the thrill.
Which is what I would do.
It's like swim bait guys. Like they want big,
Right.
and they think big fly, big fish, which in the case of real world, I would say big fly, big fish, but we got to remember too, elephants eat peanuts.
That's true.
So that's one of my biggest sayings with people is go small. If you're in a very, I'd say, heavily fished area that gets hammered, go small. Because your typical guy is going to go throw the biggest one in there trying to catch the biggest fish. Well, if that fish that you want to target is gun shy, he's not going to go after something that's been thrown in his face 50 million times.
Right.
He's going to go after that discreet. I would say two biggest thing is the bigger the fly, the more the fish has to inspect. So
Okay.
the less material that fish has to inspect, the more bites you're going to get.
Yeah, and a lot of guys are catching big trout on nymphs,
Yep.
so that makes sense.
I mean, they'll fit on your pinky nail.
Absolutely. The eye's too small to even see the line, get the line through it.
Yep.
When you get into these bigger streamers, as far as your tippet and stuff goes, I assume we're increasing that, or you're
Yep.
still throwing it on a small one. Take that big one that you picked up right there that everybody wants to throw. What kind of tippet would somebody be using with that?
I would go 2x, 1x on it. Now, of course, it depends on the situation
Yeah.
because those fish are line shy just like any other species of fish. I would say my go-to would be somewhere around the 12 to 10 pound range on fluorocarbon.
Okay. And let's say we're in the river, you and I together, and we see a big one behind a rock
Yep.
where a trout should be.
hmm
How would you go about approaching that with a streamer?
Well,
Or would that even be in play right there with the streamer?
oh, it would be most definitely. It's one of those things where you have to decide you want to throw nymphs at it first and see if he eats,
Hmm.
or you just want to throw all your cards on the table and say, let's do it.
I want to throw all my cards on the table. Let's do it. How would you approach that?
Well, are we talking brown, rainbow?
Let's say brown.
Well, I'm going to throw the meatiest streamer I got at him.
Okay. How would you approach the rock itself? Would you go like throw upstream and let it drift down behind it, or would you strip up to it?
I'd do about a 45 if I could on him. So you get at an angle, bring it across his face, like bring it right to him. Now, a lot of guys are going to argue with that point
Uh-huh.
of throw across, let it swing to him. Me, I'm bringing it right to his face.
Okay.
That way, you're keeping up with your slack as you're stripping to him. So
Mhm.
when he nails that thing, you're automatically tight with him.
Okay. Now you mentioned, is it a brown or is it a rainbow? And I said a brown. Let's say that fish is a rainbow. How would you change your approach?
I would go more diagonal downstream at him and bring it past that fish.
And why is that? Is it just the way rainbows react?
Yep, they're opportunistic feeders. That brown, he's going to smash it because he's the predator.
Okay.
That's my approach on it.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their views on it, but in my experience, I bring it straight to the brown, bring it past the rainbow.
Okay, that makes sense. So, as far as your rods going out to the bigger brown, when we get to throwing the bigger streamers,
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned a 5 weight with the woolly booger.
Yep.
What are we throwing those bigger ones on?
I'd say a 6, 7 weight.
Okay.
Now it's going to depend on you. Some guys like the challenge of a smaller weight rod with a bigger fly,
Mm-hmm.
and then vice versa.
Yeah. What would you tell somebody that's brand new to it?
6 weight.
6 weight?
Yep.
Okay. And then as far as the casts,
Yep.
are we doing more roll casting, not as much of the standard, the river runs do it pretty casts?
Then again, the situation, like if you're on open water, say on the Toccoa River,
Mm-hmm.
you can double haul it all day long or water load it. On smaller creeks, you're not going to get that advantage. You got all the trees here.
Right.
So I'm going to say lobcast or water load it. Now, throwing one of these for the first time, trying to roll cast it, it's like throwing a wet rag.
Yeah, pretty tough.
So you're either going to break your rod tip when you hit it, or you're going to smack yourself in the chin and have to take a ride to the emergency room.
I understand. Now, with the woolly booger, you said you would approach it more, it will work in the tailwaters year round,
Yep.
but in smaller streams, you would go pre spawn, post spawn.
Yep.
What about with the larger ones?
The larger ones, I mean, what are you talking, like what time of year?
Yeah, I mean,
Or
would you throw that? I mean, when would be the best time to throw a large streamer?
I
Any
would
time of the year, or like post spawn, pre spawn?
I would say like early fall up to the first big crazy cold snap we get, because those fish are going to go dormant. They're still going to eat, but their willingness to chase is going to go down as the water temperature goes down.
Mhm.
And then I'd say about now, so it's February, we're starting to warm up. So the water's starting to warm up. All the bugs are starting to come back out. So they're going to come back out and hunt. So I would say all the way from now until it gets hot, say June,
Mhm.
and then slack off on it. And then once fall starts to roll around again, when the water starts to level out, hit it again.
So definitely not a summertime pattern that you would recommend. It could be used, but you would recommend it spring, fall.
In fall.
Okay,
For trout.
for trout, yeah, and that's what I want to concentrate on. What would you say to a new client if they say, "Hey, I want to throw a streamer," that you might think this is not the time, other than the time of year? Is there other conditions that you would not throw a streamer on?
I would say low water. Low water is one of the big things for me with streamers. I get guys ask all the time, can we throw streamers? And I'm like, they're not going to react to them because we ain't got enough water.
Okay, so the level plays a big key in it.
Big key.
Now, this is just my last question. Your preference: stained water or totally clear water with streamers? What's the best?
Stained.
Just like in bass fishing.
Yep. I would say not a full stain, but more like a tea stain.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get chocolate milk Willy Wonka on them, the odds are against you anyway.
Right.
But I would say a stained water situation would be better.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, I think I'm going to get me a couple streamers. Go out and I know everybody wants to start with the biggest one.
Of course.
But I think I'll start with the woolly booger first and work my way up. So sounds like a plan to me. Well, I hope you guys learned something. I certainly did. If you like this content, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button and click that notification bell. We got a lot of other videos we'll put down in the links below. And guys, check out our Live Well podcast every Thursday night from 8 to 10. We appreciate you, and we'll see you soon.